felt like you had to work twice as hard just to be seen, let alone respected? How often do you push yourself past exhaustion, believing that if you just do one more task, you'll finally feel worthy of the success you've been chasing? We live in a world that glorifies hustle, especially for women in leadership. But here's the truth. Burnout is not the price of success. In this episode, we're breaking down the hustle culture trap, the double standards women face in business, and how you can achieve a massive success without sacrificing yourself in the process. It's time to redefine ambition, step into your power, and create a new way of leading, one that fuels your fire without burning you out. Y'all, let's get into it. Welcome to this week's episode of the Unfiltered Trainer podcast. I'm your host, Gina, aka Gina Marie Fit, and your girl has a very busy, very involved recap before we get into today's episode. I literally am just on a gratitude high, so to speak, because this past weekend, I had the incredible opportunity to be a part of the inaugural She Is Football weekend with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was in partnership with a couple of our big businesses here in Tampa and the NFL, and I literally was in awe the entire event. There were so many pivotal people that have assisted women to be in sports, to be in leadership, to be making the decisions, to be on the field. And the fact that I was blessed to be in the same room as them, still just has me in shock that I even had this experience. And then you add on the fact that Erin Andrews and Carissa, who have their own Calm Down podcast, filmed a live podcast at the event. It was literally hysterical. They brought one of the Bucs players, Tristan, on stage, and it was so freaking funny. We also got to hear from the Bucs owner, Darcy Glazer, who literally is just a powerhouse human being. What this woman does on top of everything that she has to do for the team, and then to bring this event to life with her incredible team that made it possible, insanity. I can't believe this can happen and that I get to be a part of these events. We also had a bunch of really cool speakers, several other people that are big interviewers, like broadcast reporters for different various professional organizations in sports. And then we got to hear from a lot of really pivotal players in Tampa Bay. One of those was the owner and chef at Somi. She literally is just somebody that has powered through. She had an idea, she had a passion, and she went with it, and girlfriend's got a Michelin star. We also got to hear from what you'll see on social media. It'll come up at Beyond the Bleachers, but Tanika, her husband is the coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and she has her own organization called the Tampa Bay Fashion Experience. It's actually the fashion show. If you follow me on Instagram at Gina Marie Fit and you saw me attend that fashion show, that was her organization's fashion show. We also heard from a really large influencer in Tampa. Her name is Sydney Adams King. And literally, if you're listening to this, understand something. I had tagged her in one story post. I had been highlighting all of the speakers throughout the day, and she shared that post, and my one story reached 55,000 people by the end of the day, all because she has such an engaged following. And I've posted about it, and hate on this if you want, but one thing that drives me insane about being in the online space is that you have total strangers who will share your content, hype up your content, freaking influencers that are huge. But the people that are in your immediate life watch your stories every day, see your posts, don't bother engaging, don't comment, don't don't share. And sad that sometimes you're more supported by a stranger than you are people in your everyday life. It was just crazy that we could have that much engagement because one person posted something, reshared something. It just goes to show you the power of one. We also had an incredible panel, and I've been looking up the women on the panel. I didn't even know some of these organizations in Tampa existed. So I really want to start looking more into other organizations to partner with, because a lot of us have a very similar mission, and a lot of them are women in leadership trying to connect, network, and help other women get started, which is the space I am now in with Impact Nation launching. And so that's the direction of where my life really is going to be going, and just focusing on that organization and making an impact and seeing what's possible. And then we had day 2. Fun little fact, if you know anything about me, you know I hate running. And we had like a charity 5K the next day. I had put in a time as a walker. I said it would take me an hour. But my runner friends who run marathons had other ideas for me. So they circled me, picture this, like the Secret Service. There was somebody on all sides of me, front and back. I felt like I was the president. And they made sure that I didn't stop. And we ended up finishing it in like 35 or 36 minutes. That is the most running I have done since college, collegiate soccer, friends. That is a lot of years. My entire body feels it, but I'm just glad I was able-bodied enough to do it. And after the first mile, I had stopped speaking altogether. I literally was miserable. Everything hurt. I had a cramp in my side by mile going into like mile 2, and it was only like 3 some miles. I don't even know. And the whole time they're talking, they're having fun because they love this. And in my head, I'm just trying to breathe and not die. Like my goal was just, you cannot drop in a charity event. But at one point, like the last mile, I was getting tired. I really started slowing down. I could feel the difference in my body. And I literally had to have like a come to Jesus moment with myself and remind myself that, Gina, a year ago, this was something you begged for. You wanted to be able-bodied to be active. Now, maybe I should have specified that manifestation of what that should have included. All jokes aside, a year ago, I wasn't capable of doing anything like this at all. Charity or no charity, wasn't even able to do something like this. And so it really just goes to show you just what can happen in a year and what happens when you relentlessly pursue what sets your soul on fire and you don't give up even when things get dark and you can't see the light. And so that's why I wanted to talk about the myth around hustle culture this week, because I think it's time we take a deep dive into how high achieving women in business and leadership, because I was surrounded by just boss human beings the last 2 weeks, because last weekend I was at the Building a Boss Summit, which is just, again, incredible, like women empowerment, leadership, women-owned businesses, like crazy. The support system you have in Tampa, if you do have a female-owned business, it's the best. But we don't always talk about balancing ambition with our well-being, talking about how we overcome unique adversities, and then how we truly have to redefine success that doesn't include burnout, because burnout is not a badge of honor we should be wearing. The thing about hustle culture is that it's not always better. Hustle culture has conditioned women to believe that success comes from relentless grinding. But at what cost? It's time to challenge the toxic mindset that glorifies overwork and instead embrace a smarter, more impactful way to lead. True success isn't about exhaustion. It's about alignment, fulfillment, and creating lasting change without sacrificing yourself in the process. The glorification of overworking and why we equate exhaustion with success is something that I am learning to heal from myself. I feel like we all glorify doing the most, whether that's the most in the gym, the most at work, the most with your kids, and somehow we make that synonymous with success. But the pressure on women in business to prove their worth through constant productivity is dangerous. Society and corporate culture are conditioning women to believe that they must do more to be seen as leaders. Yet their basic male counterparts could be doing half as much and being seen to be rising above them and being promoted faster. And that's no shade to men, but it's the absolute God's honest truth that women in leadership tend to be doing 10 times as much as those around them, because we constantly feel like we have to be proving ourselves when the male is able to be in that position confidently because society says that that's what's acceptable. In order to redefine success, we have to shift from grind mode to growth mode. And this is something that I wholeheartedly have embraced in the last year, is that when you do a lot, you're a woman in leadership, you run a business, you run a company, you run a nonprofit, you tend to put yourself in situations because you want everything to be perfect, you want everything to be done right. But sometimes the best things come from delegation, from saying no, from slowing down, or like Tanika Bowles was saying at the She Is Football weekend, she sets 45 to 60 minutes every morning. That's her time. That's her God time, like prayer. She focuses on herself, and her family knows that she is not to be disturbed until she has that time. And that is a boss of a human being who can delegate, who can set boundaries and make her point known while still being respectful. Women face a lot of unique challenges being in leadership, and there truly is a double standard dilemma. Women in leadership face a relentless push to prove that they deserve a seat at the table. Yet, when they step up, they're often met with resistance. The expectation to be strong but not too strong, ambitious but not too aggressive. It's exhausting. We're redefining leadership by breaking free from these outdated molds and owning our power unapologetically. We must prove that worthiness isn't about having to be proved, it's simply about being. There's an expectation gap in the workforce and specifically in leadership roles where women have to and are encouraged to outperform just to be seen as equal and have a seat at the same table. There are so many leadership stereotypes that claim that women are assertive, they're labeled as aggressive, while men are seen as strong. I'm witnessing this on social media right now. Alex Earl and Alex Cooper are being pointed against each other because one is no longer part of another's company. And I keep seeing female after female talking about, oh yeah, Alex Cooper, she's so difficult to deal with. If you don't personally work with her, how do you know that? Because you heard that through the grapevine? That is doing so much harm to women. But my thought is she really that difficult to deal with? Or maybe you just can't play her. And it makes you mad because she is assertive. She knows that she's worked hard. She's built this empire. She knows what she's doing. She's clearly the most successful female podcaster ever. And I just think it's really sad and dangerous for women in business and leadership that women on the internet keep pointing others against each other, comparing each other when you don't know the truth, but you're just trying to get views. So you'll say whatever is controversial just to get likes and comments, when reality, the way we're talking down about women, whether they are okay or not, is dangerous for the rest of culture. There is a guilt factor being a woman in leadership because you're trying to balance ambition with personal life, and it's that constant not enough syndrome. I talked about this a couple episodes ago, what it feels like to really step into a new level of success, power, drive, and everybody, when I got my Forbes nomination, I had two people literally say, but she needs a man. I have a Forbes nomination. I don't need anything. I'm clearly doing all right on my own. And it's just really unfortunate that no matter what a woman does in this world, it's never enough because society will continue to pick from her. So you're successful. Well, when are you going to find somebody? When are you going to engage? When you get engaged? When are you getting married? When you get married? When are you having kids? When you have your first kid? When are you having your second kid? It's an exhausting list that makes you feel like it's never enough. There has to be an emphasis on the importance of visibility and advocacy for women in leadership for us to thrive. The cost of overdrive. The mental, emotional, and physical toll that being a female in leadership takes on people, it's exhausting. Success shouldn't come at the expense of your well-being. Yet, so many women in leadership are silently battling burnout behind the scenes. The emotional labor, the pressure to be everything to everyone while being perfect while you're doing it, and the hidden costs of constantly pushing harder really is starting to take a toll. It's time that we recognize the warning signs, that we prioritize our own health, and we shift merely from surviving to truly starting to thrive. This can come in a lot of forms, but I feel like there is a burnout epidemic, but it's silent because it happens a lot amongst high achieving women is that you're tired, you haven't ate all day, you're over caffeinated, you're getting angry because you haven't ate all day, and you're going to keep persevering because you're silently burning yourself out. But as a female in leadership, if you speak up and complain, oh, she's weak. Oh, women don't belong there. She's not ready. Emotional labor and the unspoken pressures of holding it all together literally can cause a human being to have a meltdown. Because burnout manifests differently for all women. You can see hormonal imbalances, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion. You can start making mistakes, and that's not male or female. When we are working from a place of exhaustion, research has proven that the quality of your work declines significantly. So it's really important that we identify the warning signs and shift each other from pushing harder to leading smarter. In order to redefine ambition and thrive without sacrificing our well-being, we really have to think about, what if ambition didn't have to mean exhaustion? What if success was measured by impact, not overexertion? By setting boundaries, focusing on sustainability, and leading with purpose, women can build powerful careers and businesses without draining themselves. Leadership is about longevity, and the most unstoppable women are the ones who prioritize both their success and their well-being. And this is mad facts. Every single person that spoke talked about this. They all talked about realistically, finding balance isn't perfect, but they talked about how they prioritize their own needs when it's important and what's important. This can come from embracing impact over output, why success just isn't about how much you do. I think that's honestly something, at least here in Tampa, and I'm sure in a lot of major cities that are a million times bigger than us. You're always seeing people try to do more. And I think sometimes it's because they're trying to one up the competition, because you have to do more, you have to be better, but the output isn't always quality. And when this happens, the impact goes away. And I feel like people get lost in the shuffle, and what they're trying to do gets lost along the way, because when you try to do too much and the quality goes down, that's also your brand and everything you stand for also suffering. Setting sustainable goals, and we've talked about setting all types of goals, really comes down to focusing on long-term impact rather than short-term wins. And this literally could be applied to everything in your freaking life. Health goals, physical goals, business goals, financial goals. Nothing worth having comes easy or quickly. So that is why it is critical to create boundaries in leadership. There is so much power in saying no to protect your energy, embracing the fact that no is a complete sentence without having to explain yourself or feel bad for saying no. Strategies for leading with confidence without overexerting yourself can really come down to setting a to-do list where you prioritize what's important. There are non-negotiables that have to happen in your day. We all know this. They're all different for all of us. But there are certain things that must happen. So those for me are on the top of my list. And then I make my to-do list based off of what's most important to least important. This strategy helps me lead with confidence because I personally am old school. I like pen, I like paper, I like the power and just the happiness that comes from checking something off and feeling accomplished. And that enables me to not overexert myself because having a TBI has forced me to do less. Everything takes twice as long. And I've realized that when I overexert myself, I suffer greatly. So something that I've been working on is setting a to-do list by priority, moving things throughout the week, and being okay with the fact that on more than one occasion, when I start to teeter and tiptoe past that line of safety in what I'm doing and how much I'm doing, that I know it's okay to circle back, lay down on that couch, and just be without editing a podcast or editing a YouTube video or feeling like I have to be messaging somebody or learning something. You can't create abundance from burnout. And it's truly something that once you learn that and become strategic in the methods that you implement, you will be significantly more successful and you will accomplish more. So we have to create a new narrative where elevating women without the burnout badge becomes reality. We are not here to survive leadership. Say that big, loud, and proud. We are here to redefine it. And it's time that we shift from competition to collaboration, from burnout to balance, and from proving to owning our space. The future of leadership isn't about working harder. It's about leading smarter, lifting each other up as we climb, and building a culture where women can thrive at the top without sacrificing themselves, their beliefs, their morals, their values, their mission, their vision in the process. So let's talk about changing the dialogue. How women in leadership can advocate for efficiency over exhaustion. One of those things is accountability. If you have a team, I have a team that I'm in charge of, it's really important that you have clear expectations from day one of hiring somebody. So my team has an onboarding document. They are trained on it and they sign off on it so that I know they know the rules. They know I know the rules. And as long as they know what the guidelines are, they'll execute from what those expectations are. And it's been really helpful for me because when things need to be addressed, I'm able to reference the outline details of what the expectations are. And I feel comfortable that when I have to delegate a task, it's within those parameters. And I know it's okay to be able to ask that of them without feeling bad or apologizing. Every woman in leadership who is in this position is going to look differently. So you have to determine, if you are a woman in leadership, how can you advocate to be more efficient and so that you're not exhausted. When I think about my own business, Sweating Together for a Cause, and the extension partnership program, Impact Nation, I'm being more efficient because I created a business plan. I'm working on my pitch deck so that when I reach out to brands and companies, I have clear-cut expectations, I have analytics, and I have something that looks professional. That enables me to be more efficient instead of recreating the wheel every single time I do something. Then I have a reverse engineered system. I have my event. I know what my expectations are. Here's the things that need to get done. I create a timeline and I slowly work my way through that timeline until it's time for that event. And that enables me to spread out the details and duties over time instead of not having a consistent plan, doing things too quickly, risking the quality of the event, and then you feel that sense of burnout. Something that's been really pivotal and critical for me this year is mentorship and collaboration. Tanika had said this, and I wrote this down on Friday at She Is Football. She said, you have to lift as you climb rather than competing. And that is something that in Tampa depends on who you're with. There are weirdly competitive people, which I've never quite understood because we are always significantly more successful when we work together. And now that I'm around these women who do 10 times more than me, run huge companies, have been in Forbes, not just nominated, have been in Forbes. And we're sitting at the same table, we're eating the same food, we're going back and forth with conversations, and we're helping each other. And I have learned to embrace the fact that even though I am in awe, I literally was just in awe on Friday, that I do belong there. I am a woman in leadership. I am building a brand, a company. I am making an impact. And as I'm expanding, I'm bringing people along the way with me. When you decide and work to redefine leadership, you have to think about what it looks like for you, for your team, and for future generations. Think about the women that will come after you. I think about my younger employees, one who is a college student. She is literally so delightful to be around because anytime I ask her to do something, it's okay. Or, hey, is this good enough? Hey, I filmed this content. Is this okay? Hey, I sent this message. Is this okay how I said it? It's just refreshing to be a small part of her journey and help her. She's like made significant progress in this position, but she's so receptive to learn. And I know the way I conduct myself is going to affect people like her who I work with on a weekly basis. So you really have to think the way you lead is going to impact the generations after you. I really encourage you to think about practical steps that foster a culture that values impact, balance, and longevity. Those are the 3 things I am striving for this year. My whole goal is to make an impact. I am learning how to find balance slow but surely, and I am working on plans, processes, and products that will initiate and efficiently create longevity for my life. And so when you think about this topic, some takeaways that I really want you to sit with is that success isn't about how much you hustle. It's about how smart you move. Women in leadership don't need to prove their worth by burning out. It's truly time that we write the rules of success and own our leadership journey on our own terms. Something that's really helpful for me that I am wholeheartedly embracing is that success isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Please know wholeheartedly that you are already worthy of leadership, not because of how much you grind, but because of the impact you've already made and the impact you are currently creating. It's time to build a new paradigm, one where ambition and well-being coexist, and where women lead with confidence, power, and sustainability. Now, before I give you your call to action, those listening to this podcast, you are the first to officially hear this. I cannot believe that I am even saying this. However, I have now added the title of author to my description of who I am and what I do. If I had $1 for every time that somebody said, I don't know how you do it, if only I could do half as much as you. Gina, you should coach. You need to teach other people how to develop processes, plans, systems. Well, y'all, what did we talk about today? Balance. Well, as much as I would love to coach people, I don't have time. What I do have time for is to write a book. And you would think that one would take less than the other, but it's crazy how fast this project developed once I started thinking about it. So if you're on Amazon, I self-published a book. It is called The Badass Blueprint. It is officially live this week. I'll be posting about it to social media. My copies don't come until I think March 12th, which is tomorrow. And then we're going to film something to actually announce it. But this guide, I tagged it as a guide that will enable you to tap into your inner badass to create your personal, professional, and your health goals. This book, one, is beautiful. Like, wait till you see it. She is in all of her glory, everything that I could want. I literally did this book myself. I created the cover. I created the concepts. When you see and you open the book, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but as you open it and you see it, you can literally tell this is like me in a book. But it's really cool because every single section has a quote that I wrote that will lead you into the next section. And so it gives you a little welcome letter just to help you step into your power. It goes through the table of contents, and then you'll start going through the foundations of building your badass blueprint and setting yourself up for success. And then I take you step by step through all of the processes and plans that I have utilized myself in order to get to where I am today. I can't coach everybody. I can't teach everybody one-on-one, but I can create a resource guide that I feel will be effective. It's also a journal. So I created pages in the book where there are entire pages with prompts for you to write on, reflect, to manifest, to create your own affirmations. And then I put some sections in here as well where you can connect with me, how you can join my Impact Society. But something when you buy this book, and I ask that if you're listening, please buy this book and support this mission, because when you use this book and you implement it, there's a hashtag, and it's hashtag the badass blueprint, because I want to see you crushing it, and I want to be somebody that's in your corner celebrating your success. So I even included a 30-day challenge in this book to kickstart, because something I have made a huge mistake on in my past is I've been a hoarder of knowledge, and I have had the books and I've done all the things, but I didn't always implement them. So I gave you a way to give you 30 days to implement a weekly strategy of everything you have learned. And then I want you to take it and run with it and truly become the most badass version of yourself. So if this episode resonates with you, share it with a fellow high-achieving woman who needs to hear this message, because it is our duty to shift the culture together. Success isn't about how much you sacrifice. It's about how powerfully you lead. You are already enough, you are already worthy, and you don't need to prove your value by running yourself into the ground. It's time to step out of the hustle trap and into a new way of leading, one where ambition and well-being coexist, where boundaries are respected, where your impact is measured by the legacy you build, not the exhaustion you carry. So here's my challenge to you. Start making decisions from a place of power, not pressure. Honor your energy, take up space, stop apologizing for who you are, your dreams, your ambition, and never forget that you don't have to burn out to stand out. If this episode spoke to you, send it to somebody you know needs this daily reminder. And remember, we rise higher when we rise together. All right, y'all, until next time, keep leading, keep thriving, and keep making an impact on your own terms. I'll see you in the next episode.